Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. In the previous chapter, it is said that being requested by Narada, Lord Brahma spoke Bhagavat Purana to Narada, consisting of 10 characteristics. So, what are those 10 characteristics? Are introduced in the 10th chapter, and they will be elaborated in the next 10 cantos. We have out of 12 cantos, 2 cantos are getting completed with this chapter. There are 10 characteristics and 10 cantos, and each canto will elaborate on one of the 10 characteristics from now onwards. So that is the connection from second canto to future cantos. And also in this chapter, there is a third description of the universal form. First one came in the first chapter, second one came in the sixth chapter, third one is coming in the 10th chapter. In this chapter, the 10 subject matters of the Bhagavatam are described, starting with creation and subcreation. The divisions of Adhyatma, Adibhuta and Adideva are also described at the third description of the universal form. So we are going to conclude 10th canto, just to glance through this. What is just summary of the entire canto. First 3 chapters, there is the excellence of bhakti over karma, jnana, yoga, and devata worship has been indicated. And 4th chapter indicates that how this Srimad Bhagavatam originated from Narayana. Then Sukadeva Goswami says that, my dear Lord, just like you personally appeared and spoke Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma, and may you also manifest on my tongue, so that the Bhagavatam will manifest on my tongue and it will enlighten Parikshit Maharaj. That's how Sukadeva Goswami introduced what is Bhagavatam, what is the origin of Bhagavatam. Then 5 to 7, taking the reference of conversation that took place between Brahma and Narada, Sukadeva Goswami answers Parikshit Maharaj's question about pastimes of the Purusha Avataras. By the way, he also talks about the pastimes of the Guna Avataras and also Leela Avataras. So like that. Then, in order to keep Sukadeva Goswami for the next 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj makes so many questions in the 8th chapter. Then Sukadeva Goswami said that answer to all your questions is there from Bhagavatam. What is Bhagavatam? It was spoken by Lord Narayana to Brahma. How much? 4 slokas. That is spoken in the 9th chapter. And what that 4 slokas contain? That 4 slokas contain 10 topics. The 10 topics, what are the 10 topics? They are introduced in the 10th chapter. This is the complete summary of the entire canto 2. So now we are in 10th chapter, about 51 slokas. So in the first 9 slokas, there is a description of the 10 characters of the Purana. Then the manifestation of the universal form is mentioned in 10 to 35 verses. That is talking about primary creation. And a brief description of what Brahma does afterwards. After empowered by Lord Vishnu, what did Brahma do? That is briefly introduced in the later part of the chapter 36 to 47. Visarga explained. And 48 to 51, Shaunaka's questions about Vidura Maitreya Samvad. So having heard these details from Sutta Goswami, now Shaunaka Rishi kind of stops him for a while. Tells that, so long back in the first year, 13th chapter told that Vidura heard from Maitreya. He heard some things and then immediately stopped it without completion of the discussion. He came back to Hastinapur to deliver his elder brother, Dhritarashtra. What all did he hear from Maitreya? What did he learn? What did he understood? Understanding which, thinking that there is no need to hear more, he came back to Hastinapur. So can you please tell all those things? It is like an interruption in the flow of the discussion. So with that, the canto ends. And then third canto begins. Sri Shuka Uvacha Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam Poshana Mutaya Manvantaresha Anufata Nirodo Muktirashraya.
Shukdev said, in this Purana, there are 10 topics: creation, secondary creation, protection, mercy of the Lord, material activities, the conduct of the Manus, the stories of the Lord, destruction of the universe, liberation, and the ultimate shelter.
These are the names of the 10 topics. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshana, Utaya, Manvantara, Ishanupata, Nirodha, Mukti, Ashraya. And all these 10 topics will be discussed in the 10 cantos, subsequent 10 cantos. At the end of the last chapter, the Bhagavatam was described as having 10 characteristics. Tasma idam Bhagavatam Puranam Dashalakshanam Proktam Bhagavata Praha Prita Putraya Bhutakrit. Brahma, affectionate to Narada, then spoke to his son Narada the Bhagavad Purana, which was endowed with 10 characteristics and which was spoken by the Supreme Lord in 4 verses. Puranam Dasalakshanam is the 10 Lakshanas of the Purana. 12th Canto Bhagavatam says that every major Purana should have these 10 topics and minor Purana should have 5 topics out of the 10. So what are the 10? What are the 5 topics? You can know from the 10th Canto. Sorry, 12th Canto. These are shown in this verse. Manvantara Ishanukata Dvandva compound indicating 2 items, Manvantara and Ishanukata. So now, after stating them in the first verse, the next verse says, define them. What do you mean by Sarga? What do you mean by Visarga, Sthanam, Poshnam, Utaya? Like that, it is indicated.
Where does the from where do you understand that?
What?
This is the same Chatushloki Bhagavatam. The second line actually tells them. Second line tells that
Proktam Bhagavata Praha. Proktam Bhagavata Praha. Brahma is speaking, which he heard from Bhagavan. Bhagavata Praha. Praha is the past tense. Proktam is the present tense. So Lord Vishnu spoke Bhagavatam to Brahma, and Brahma is repeating the same Bhagavatam to Prita Putraya Bhutakrut. He is the dearmost son Nardamuni. The 4 shlokas is like added thing. It's not directly mentioned, but that is what comes in the 9th chapter. No? Lord only spoke only 4 shlokas. Not so. It is connection to the previous chapter. Dashamasya Vishuddhartam Navana Mihalakshanam Varnayanti Mahatmana Shrutenartena Chandisa.
The great devotees such as Vijara and Maitreya describe properly the 9 topics in order to impart the highest knowledge of the 10th topic. Through the words of the scripture and stories to illustrate their meaning.
Here one interesting point is there. We'll discuss that. Will there be different meanings to this in different scriptures? What do you mean by Bhagavad Purana contains 10? What about other Puranas? Do they also have 10, 9, 8, 9, 10? The devotees describe the nature of the 9 topics in order to impart the knowledge of the final truth, unmixed with anything else of the 10th topic, the shelter. The purpose of describing these 9 topics is to highlight the importance of the 10th topic. Any Purana you take, they should have same 10 topics. Maybe the same names are different names, but purpose is this. Whether they may have 10 topics or 20 topics, whatever it is, purpose of discussing all other topics is to show the importance of the main topic. That is Ashrayam. Dashamasya Vishuddhartam. In order to show the special meaning of the 10th topic, Navana Melakshanam, the 9 topics are described in the Bhagavatam. Who are describing? Varnayanti Mahatmana. The great Mahatmas are describing the 9 topics of the Bhagavatam, or any Purana in that matter. Who are the great souls here now? Maitreya is speaking to Vidura. The example connection is given. Later on, 3rd canto onward discussion starts. Maitreya is speaking to Vidura. That is reference is taken. So great souls like Maitreya are speaking about these 9 topics of Bhagavatam in order to highlight the 10th topic onto Vidura. Wait. Other things which are excluded at the shelter include Swarga and hell. So somebody might say, so what do you mean by Ashraya? Who is that Ashraya? So Bhagavatam is talking about Bhagavan. So you mean to say only Bhagavan is Ashraya? We have Ramayana and Mahabharata, which talk about Sarga, going to Sarga is the Ashraya. Mahabharata proclaims going to Sarga is the final Ashraya, final destiny. Ramayana proclaims getting Moksha is the final destiny. So why not Sarga, why not Moksha? Why are you saying Bhagavan is the final Ashraya? Other things which are excluded at the shelter, which includes Swarga and hell, which are only Jiva's destinations caused by the Supreme Lord. These places indicate that only the Jiva's bodies are subjected to creation, maintenance, and destruction. Going to Naraka and Swarga are the activities of the body. It is not the activity of the soul. The actual shelter of the soul is the supreme absolute truth, which has in three features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Out of the three, Bhagavan is the shelter of Brahman and Paramatma. Then who is the final shelter? Bhagavan is the final shelter. That is indicated in Bhagavata Purana. Other Puranas and other Vedic literatures might say something else is the shelter, but they are all shelter for someone else. But the supreme shelter of all the shelters is Bhagavan. That is indicated in the Bhagavatam. That there is only one shelter is not a fault, since that is the conclusion of scriptures. The devotees describe these topics with the meaning coming from the Shruti and by the stories illustrating the meaning of the Shruti. The devotees such as Vidura and Maitreya describe these topics. Now I am going to tell you two things from this verse, which is not clearly mentioned here, but this is my understanding. Based on this understanding only, I have compiled the second book, Bhagavatam Seeker Journey. The entire book is based on this one verse, based on the meaning of this one verse. The meaning is, out of 10 topics, 9 topics talks about what Jiva does in this material world. Jiva's different activities in the material world are described in the 9 topics of a Purana. Basically, taking the shelter of a sadhana. While practicing that sadhana, what are the difficulties will come in the life of a sadhaka? How the devotee tackles all those sadhanas. When he makes mistakes, how Lord will give him shelter and second chance so that he can progress further. And how Varnashram system will act if proper fencing for that person. And how Varnashram is being protected by the Manvantara system. How the devotee gets inspired by hearing the pastimes of the different devotees, pastimes of different avatars. And finally, how taking the shelter of the path of moksha, he becomes firm in his sadhana and progresses further. And finally comes to the lotus feet of Ashraya. So except Ashraya is the destiny, Prayojana. But when Sambandha Abhidheya are described in these 9 topics. If at all one does not take shelter of these topics, other topics, one will take shelter of Nirodha by force. Nirodha is repeated cycle of creation and destruction. If one does not take one sadhana seriously, one will be forced to take repeated birth in this material world. That is what will happen. So like that, the Seeker Journey book explains about the meaning of these 10 topics and what we can learn from each topic, basically from each canto in our spiritual progress. So this verse is the fundamental principle for my second book. The second one is Shrutena Artena Anjasa. What is the purpose of a Purana talking about these 10 topics? Purpose is to inspire the devotee to perform a sadhana. What is the sadhana? Sadhana mainly consists of karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti, which are the principal teachings of the Vedas. Vedas talk about karma kanda, jnana kanda, upasana kanda. Karma kanda means sakama karma, nishkama karma. Jnana kanda means jnana and ashtanga. Upasana kanda means upasana, the worship of the person, which includes and culminates in the worship of Lord Vishnu. That is called bhakti. So upasana kanda indirectly talks about bhakti. Karma yoga is there, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and bhakti yoga. These are the 4 sadhanas which are principally explained in the Vedas. But everyone is not qualified to read Vedas. Everyone cannot understand the meaning of the Vedas. In order to explain the meaning of the Vedas in a simplistic way, through the medium of stories, the Puranas and Itihasas are compiled. In order to understand what are these 4 sadhanas, how to practice them, by practicing these 4 sadhanas, what kind of destiny one will reach, through examples. Examples such as the son of maid servant, examples such as Parikshit Maharaj, Pandavas, examples such as Dhruva Maharaj, Prutu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, like that. Pandavas, Rama, the 4 brothers, Ayodhya brothers also an example in that way. All these examples, we were told through the medium of examples so that we can understand it, we can follow it, because we are not highly intellectual people. The Vedas are meant for highly intellectual people. The less intelligent people, can take shelter of the Puranas and Itihasas and attain perfection. That's why it is said that Shrutena Artena Anjasa. In order to explain the meaning of the Shruti scriptures in an easy way through the medium of stories, the Puranas and Itihasas are compiled. That is the meaning of this phrase. These are my commentary. Yes.
All the four Vaishnava Sampradaya conclude to the understanding that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the ultimate shelter of Bhagavad Purana.
No. So three Sampradayas say that. Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya says that Krishna is the Purna Purushottama, Purna Avatar. Ultimate absolute truth is Narayana. When Narayana appears in this world, 100% of Narayana can be seen in Krishna. 90% can be seen in Rama. 85% can be seen in Lord Narasimha. Like that, they give kind of evolution. But according to them, the final destiny is Narayana. Because they are in Aishwarya Mudna. So it's like that.
The other Vaishnava Sampradayas,
I mean, at least from their activities, we can see this Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, they are worshippers of Krishna only. Natwara and all. And Madhya Sampradaya, we have Udupi Krishna only. Then
philosophically,
Vishnu Kumara Sampradaya,
they worship Krishna.
Krishna only.
Every mood of Radha Rama, the reflection of Radha.
But ultimately, whom they worship? What is their main deity? So, in that way. भूतमात्रेन्द्रियधियां जन्म सर्गा उदाहृता ब्रह्मणो गुणवैषम्यात् विसर्गा पुरुषा स्मृता.
Sarga refers to the manifestation of the gross material elements. Tanmatras, the senses, the false ego, and Mahatma. Caused when the Lord transformed into us, Visarga is the creation of the bodies for which Jiva is carried out by Brahma.
Here the definition of Sarga and Visarga is given. Each topic is described now. Sarga means the manifestation of the 24 elements, consisting of 5 gross elements, 5 tanmatras, 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, mind, intelligence, ahankara, and mahatattva, as well as their description in the universal form, which are produced when Mahavishnu glances upon Pradhana. And through that glance, Kala, Shakti, and Jiva Shakti enters into Pradhana and agitates Pradhana, the 3 modes, and which lead to the production of 24 elements, whose combination leads to unlimited Brahmandas. That is Sarga. The formation of unlimited Brahmandas with the help of 24 elements is called Sarga. Then what is Visarga? Paurusha refers to Brahma. Visarga refers to the creation of the moving and non-moving entities by Brahma. So Brahma uses the same 24 elements. And from the same 24 elements which appears as the lotus, Brahma divides the lotus into 14 divisions, 14 planetary systems. Then using the same 24 elements, he creates bodies for different jivas. That is Brahma's secondary creation. That is called Visarga. Vishesha Rupena Swarga. Creation of the jivas means giving jivas forms with intelligence, senses, and body. For what purpose? For engaging in material enjoyment. Because for which only jiva comes to material world. One that is done for pursuing liberation or practicing bhakti according to their qualification. Either for pursuing liberation, that is Sahyajya Mukti by practice of Jnana and Yoga, or by practicing bhakti, going back home back to Godhead. These are different purposes for which the body, human body, is given. Sarga refers to the creation of the elements, tanmatras, etc. by Karmadaksha Vishnu. Visarga refers to the creation of the bodies of the jivas by Lord Brahma. This we already discussed. Sarga and all everything we
This
discussed.
bodies include पहले तो mind intelligence को तो पहले ही बना दिया था.
किसको? नहीं, elements बनाया था. So combine करके अभी ब्रह्मा जी creates the body. Grass body and subtle body, both the bodies are formed by Brahma only. You will get more details in the third canto. Third canto, chapter 10, 12, and 20 talks about Visarga very details. So Sarga is explained in the third canto from chapter 5 to chapter 11. All the chapters are exclusively dedicated for, in one sense, the whole third canto is Sarga. But these chapters exclusively mainly focus on this one, process of Sarga, and remaining canto focus on purpose of creation. And then chapter 10, 12, 20, and fourth canto and half of the fifth canto talks about Visarga. That is where Visarga is being spoken. Next elements. Sitir Vaikunta Vijaya, Poshanam Tadanugraha, Manvantarani Saddharma, Utaya Karma Vasana.
Sthanam refers to the Lord, protecting his devotee. This shows the excellence of the Lord. Poshanam means the Lord's mercy. Manvantara refers to the conduct of the kings ruling the Manvantara periods. Uti refers to the impressions created by the Jiva's actions, which lead them to future importance.
Yeah, here 4 items are indicated. Sthanam means protection. Okay, Sthanam means protection, which shows the excellence of the Supreme Lord in comparison to Brahma, the creator, and Shiva, the destroyer. Stitir Vaikunta Vijaya. The super excellent victory of Lord Vaikunta, Lord Vishnu, is the maintenance of the entire universe with different variety of living entities. That is Sthanam. The maintenance aspect of the entire universe is called as Sthanam. Thus, Sthiti also refers to the condition of the Jivas. Or Vaikunta Vijaya can mean that the Lord destroyed the suffering of the Jivas, since Jaya means victory over. After the creation, the condition of the Jivas is described in the topic known as Sthiti. So, Sthanam is explained in the second part of the 5th canto, which talks about what are the different facilities that are given to different variety of living entities. Protection means that only, na? The husband takes care of the protection of the wife and children, means provides all the needs of the family members, home, vehicles, expenses, all the things, clothes, food, everything is provided. So like that. That is the maintenance. In protecting the Jiva, the Lord shows his mercy to some. The devotees performing sadhana, even if they are involved in sin by accident. This is the meaning of Poshana. Poshana means, in the universe, in the case of devotees, even though if they make mistakes sometimes, Lord gives them second chance to correct themselves and progress further. That is given in the 6th canto. That is called Poshana. Examples such as Ajamila, Daksha, Chitraketu Maharaj, Indra also, and Aditi. Aditi. All these are given.
Diti.
Aditi. Book पढ़ो. Oh, book में. Manvantara refers to the religious conduct of the kings reigning during the Manvantara period, revealed through the narratives concerning them. So, Manvantara refers to the different rules and the conduct of different kings during each Manvantara period. What kind of devotee kings were there during that Manvantara period, and what kind of protection they offered to the living entities in Hindu. That is all given in the Manvantara section, which comes in the 8th canto. Manvantarani Saddharma. How did they establish Saddharma? That is right. Utaya Karma Vasana. Okay. This performance of Dharma by the Sattvika Jivas engaged in Karma Yoga is considered within the conditions of Jiva in this world. So Manvantara and Saddharma indicates that the Dharma practiced by the Sattvika Jivas, not by everyone. Generally, who are Grosas, who generally perform Karma Yoga. So Manvantara Dharma is mainly to protect Varnashram Dharma for the benefit of the Gurasthas, who are the majority, who generally perform, who are expected to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. If not, at least they should perform Sakama Karma, but they should not perform Vikarma. So in order to protect them from performing Vikarma, the duty is that of the king. And finally, Uti refers to the impressions produced by action, those things which are accomplished by action. It refers to the impressions arising from the actions, either low or high. So based on our past karmas, we develop particular inclination, particular disposition. As a result of that, we perform activities in a particular way. That is called Uti. Utaya Karma Vasana. Karma vasana means our past impressions of our past activities will inspire us to perform activities in a particular way in this life. That is Uti, which is explained in the 7th canto. 7th canto, last 5 chapters specifically talks about the varnashram duties, different varnas, different ashramas, what are the duties, everything is clearly mentioned. Pious or impious acts become the cause of future happiness and distress. Our current pious activities lead to future happiness, our current impious activities lead to future distress, going to hell and going to lower species, etc. Within the condition of the jivas in the world, the nature of the high and low is described based on one's activities. Based on one's activities only, with in the next life, whether one is high or low will be determined. So like that, the 4 activities are defined. The next one is Avataranu Charitam Hare Chasyanu Vartinam Pumshami Shakata Prokta Nanakyano Pabramita.
Ishakata refers to descriptions of the Lord's avatars and their devotees, filled with various stories.
So Ishanukata means Ishakata and Anukata. Ishakata is the past tense of the Lord, Anukata is past tense of the devotees of the Lord. Ishakata refers to the stories concerning the avatars of the Lord and the devotees of the avatars. The avatars and devotees should be heard about and glorified. Thus, in the material world, the devotional angas of hearing and chanting of the sadhaka devotees are described. If Lord does not appear in various avatars, if Lord's devotees are not at all there in this world, what we will hear and what we will describe and what we meditate upon. For us to do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, there should be some subject matter for which the Lord appears in relation to various devotees and both the Lord and devotees perform various wonderful pastimes. So that all of us can practice our sadhana consisting of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Ishanukarta is the description of the pastimes of the Lord's avatars and their devotees. Now, next. Nirodosyanushayanam Atmana Saha Shaktibi Muktirihitva Annata Rupam Swarupena Vivastiti.
Nirodha refers to the merging of the Jiva along with his material identity into the Lord at the time of final devastation of the universe. Mukti means the Jiva's atonement of his home as pure Atma or as an associate of the Lord after giving up gross and subtle material bodies.
Nirodha means taking rest. As long as we are living, we move around. When we die, we go into the womb of another mother and take rest there for 9 months. So like the time passes. When the entire day of Brahma completes, then we die, we give up our gross body with our subtle body, we enter into the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and take rest for the entire night of Brahma. Like that, the entire life of 100 years of Brahma will be completed. Then, giving up gross body, subtle body, we enter into the body of Mahavishnu and take rest there for 100 years of Lord Brahma. Then again, Lord Brahma breathes out. Then there will be new creation. Then we come into the other universe and perform another set of activities. That is called Nirodha. Nirodha means basically Pralaya. What will happen to a person after Pralaya or during Pralaya? Different category of Pralayas that are mentioned in the 12th canto. Nirodha refers to the sleeping of the Jiva along with the subtle coverings following after the Lord's sleep. This refers to the Jiva's merging into the Lord after the protection period is completed. Throughout the day, at the beginning of the day, Brahma creates our bodies. Throughout the day, our bodies are maintained by Lord Vishnu. At the end of the day, our gross bodies are destroyed by Lord Shiva. With the subtle bodies, all the Jivas enter into the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. There they take rest for the entire night of Brahma. That is Nirodha. And next day again they get new bodies and perform new activities. Then the most important one is, after these 3 kinds of Nirodha, the 3 kinds of Pralaya, there is 4th Pralaya, which is called the Atmantika Pralaya. That is giving up the gross body, giving up the subtle body, giving up karma, giving up sabhava, everything. The Jiva returns back home back to Godhead. Either Sahajya Mukti or Sarishti Salokya Samipya Sarupya Vishanta Dasa Sakya Vasalya Madhurya. Any of the 5 Muktis with any of the 5 rasas. That is called Mukti. Mukti refers to the condition in which the Jiva remains in his pure form or in the form of an associate of the Lord in some cases. In pure form means in Brahman, as associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha, after giving up the gross and subtle bodies of Maya, Annata Rupam. We get Annata Rupam, a different entity in the material world, because we get a body, external covering. With that, we identify as long as we in the world. Given that mental entity, when one goes back to spiritual world and regains one's original identity, that is called Mukti. So like that. Thus, the 9 topics related to the Jiva, starting with attaining a material body called Sarga and Visarga, is maintenance, Sthiti, Lord's special mercy, Poshana, inclination to material activities, Uti, King's rule, Manvantara, Lords and devotee stories, Ishanukata, have been described for the Jiva's journey back to Godhead.
So when the Jiva remains in spirit form in the Brahma, so is that an eternal position for Jiva?
For Jivas, according to Jiva's desire, it is also eternal position. Shantaras, they can be in that eternally in that Shantaras.
Then when they actually quote in Prabhupada quotes,
But they don't go only. They imagine that they are liberated. They'll fall down from that imagined position of the liberation. But
so
this, wait. This is philosophical understanding. But when it comes to Vaishnava understanding, the Vaishnavas does not give much regard to Shantaras are entering into Kaivalya. That Kaivalya is not appreciated by Vaishnavas because we focus on Seva. In Kaivalya, there is no Seva. That's why they don't talk about Kaivalya in a appreciating way. Kaivalyam, like that they say. Because there is no opportunity for Seva, that's why they say like that. Because they are mainly focused on Seva. In that way.
But even when, how do you understand that verse? That is meant for the Mayavadis or that is meant for the Brahmavadis?
Kaivalyam Narakayate? Which verse?
Or
That is for Mayavadis. Brahmavadis attain impersonal liberation, they remain there for the rest of eternity if they want. If they want to move ahead, if they want to come back, that opportunity is there, free will is there. But Mayavadis, because they never consider, they will never accept that Lord as a form or Lord's form is real. So since they are performing offense against Lord, they will not attain even that Sayujya Mukti also. They may imagine that they have attained Sayujya, but they will fall down from there, from the middle only. That's how explanation is given. Aruya Krishrena Param Padam Tada. They may think that they have climbed up to all the Parampada Tak. But Padam Tada, they fall down from that imagined liberation. Because Anadutta Yushmadangara, because they have not recorded your lotus feet. So, our acharyas generally talk about Sayujya as in an inappreciative way. But as a matter of fact, the scriptures are talking about 5 kinds of muktis. If other 4 muktis are eternal, the 5th mukti should also be eternal. Yes or no? Is Salokya 1,000 rupees eternal or not?
they are not eternal. But if we understand Jiva's constitutional nature is to actually serve, and if there is no service in Brahmajyoti, then we understand the Jiva did not attain its eternal nature. So there is always a hankering for
Jivera Sarupai Krishna Natyadas. Okay. That is a statement. Will be right in general. But there could be some exceptions also. Okay, now if you take the statement as it is, Jivera Sarupai Krishna Natyadas. Krishna Natyadas. You are only telling specifically Krishna. Is every Jiva a servant of Krishna?
Sometimes we can use the word Krishna and it's all the expansions. So how Jiva goes
This is a phrase given by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. For Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Gaudiyas are all Krishna Nityadas. For Sri Vaishnava, they are Vishnudas. So we need to accommodate that also.
Rupa Swami also accommodates. When he writes Anyabhilashikasini.
Any other form of any other form. So like that we should take. Same way, just like somebody is Krishnadas, somebody is Lord Ramas Das, somebody Narsinga Das, somebody is Brahman Das. Why not? Brahman is also one form of the Lord only.
Class means there is service.
It's no problem. For some, service is not to do anything only. For some people, if you give some service, they cause disturbance. They cause disturbance. For some, service is not doing anything is a best service.
आश्रम में ऐसा कुछ
कभी कभी होता है, सिचुएशन होता है, कभी कभी nothing, not doing anything itself is a good service. Doing something and causing trouble to the entire temple, keeping quiet is best service sometimes.
But that is not the permanent day, no?
For some, many devotees in our temple are not doing any services. I mean, services, department services or DT services. Many Brahmacharis are not doing. They are busy in their other preaching activities and other things. From a temple point of view, service means doing some department seva. Preaching is not a department seva. So, from that point of view, see, they are doing preaching activities, but not department seva. That means they are not doing any service. Like Brahmananda. So like that. Yes, Prabhu. Of course, all of you are great devotees, Baba. All of you are after seva, so all of you glorify seva. आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतोस्ति यद्यवसीयते साश्रया परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेति शब्दते.
The Ashray Bhagwan.
Louder.
The Ashray Bhagwan, from whom arise creation, sub-creation, protection, mercy, karma, dharma of the kings, appearance of the avatars, destruction and liberation, is also called Paramatma and Brahman.
Who is Ashraya? Ashraya is generally known as Bhagavan, from whom comes Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utaya, Manvantara, Ishanupata, Nirodha, Mukti. And that Ashraya sometimes is called as Paramatma, sometimes also called Brahman. So in total, there are three Ashrayas: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. From whom comes Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utaya, Manvantara, Ishanupata. This verse talks about the interrelation between Ashraya and other 9 topics.
So here Ashray is also referring to Brahman also.
Obviously, why not? Sa Ashraya Parabrahma Paramatma iti shabdate. That Ashraya is also called as Parabrahma and also called as Paramatma.
And what about Bhagavan?
So Bhagavan is na. Sa means Bhagavan. Sa Ashraya. That Ashraya, whom we generally call as Bhagavan, is also known as Parabrahma by Jnanis, also known as Paramatma by the yogis.
Then Bhagavatam in scripture where all the three can actually take shelter in any of the three aspects.
That's what Bhagavatam begins na. What was the shloka? 1 to 10. Bhul gaye kya? Open. 1 to 10. 10 or 1 to 9. Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam. Tattvam yajnanam advayam. What is the absolute truth? हो गया ना. शुरू होता है 3 से. But वो तीनों में Bhagavan is shelter for both Paramatma and Brahman also. Bhagavatam does not excluding Brahman and Paramatma. It is also including them. So, for some.
So after reading Bhagavatam, a person can actually take his ultimate shelter to be Brahman also. No.
Bhagavatam from the beginning to the end says that even Paramatma and Brahman also depend upon Bhagavan. Bhagavan only. Bhagavan is the ultimate shelter.
Why in the in this
Ashraya na? See, in this world not only devotees are there. Of course, everyone wants devotees only, but there are some karma practitioners, jnana practitioners, yoga practitioners. They want to surrender to Brahman or Paramatma.
But does Bhagavatam actually give the
see, I told who is Paramatma? No, not Krishna. Nahi, Mahavishnu. Who is Brahman?
Who is Brahman?
Paramatma I said. Now I am saying who is Brahman. Who is Paramatma? Who is Bhagavan?
according to Bhagavad.
Mahavishnu. Bhagavan is Krishna.
Mahavishnu.
Eighth chance of
See, from the point of view of our universe, Bhagavan is Mahavishnu.
Okay.
According to Rasa, Krishna becomes. Okay.
From the point of the material universe, in connection with the material universe.
आप इधर है ना, आप इधर ही है, material universe में है ना. So Mahavishnu. Who is your father? Huh?
Which comes back to this side.
Biological father.
Biological.
Who?
Ramchandra.
Why is he your father? Why is he your father?
According to the laws of karma.
No philosophy. Speak some general,
Because I have taken
social words, general normal.
Because I have taken birth from him.
Then.
And he has actually given me maintenance.
But two things only.
But
it is he the source of your body. He is the maintainer of your body.
Yes.
Till date, he is the maintaining your body.
Yes.
He is the one who maintains your body.
Yes.
And he has given you the necessary intelligence so that you can maintain your body further. Okay? Two things now. In the childhood, they maintain our body. They give us good education so that we can get our livelihood, by which we can maintain our body. That means if they don't give us good education, good samskaras, we can't get our livelihood. So our entire maintenance of the body for the entire life is given by our father. So like that. So for all the jivas in the material world, it is creation and maintenance is given by Mahavishnu. So he is our Bhagavan. Getting? Rasa point of view, you have multiple forms of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is a generic term. Among the Bhagavan, there are multiple forms. But for us, the immediate connection as of today is Mahavishnu. So then when you go into details of Mahavishnu, then it comes into ultimate forms of Vishnu and other, ultimately going up to Krishna. So it's like that. Getting? Whether it is called Bhagavan, whether it is called Brahman, whether it is called Paramatma, all three are same only. Who is he?
Absolutely. Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu. He has a name. He has a farm.
That is
He has an abode.
his generic.
What generic? It's too philosophical. Try to be simple, over. Not to be too philosophical.
Is not very substantial.
So for all practical purposes, Bhagavan is Mahavishnu. And the same Mahavishnu is only seen as Paramatma by the yogis. The same Mahavishnu seen as Brahman by the Jnanis. They may call it a different name, but it's the same person, na? So what is the problem? It's like having described the nature of the 9 topics by indicating their subject, the Supreme Lord is described as the one shelter of this in this verse. So what is the connection between the 9 topics to the 10th one? He is the subject, they are the objects. He is the master, they are the servants. That's all. Simple. That by which Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshana, Manvantara, Ishakata, Nirodha, Mukti are accomplished is called Ashraya. Who is he? Bhagavan or Narayana, since he looks upon the creation, maintenance and destruction. According to the method of worship, he is described in different ways. Thus he is called as Parabrahma by the Jnanis and as Paramatma by the yogis. Who is called as Parabrahma?
Mahavishnu.
He is called as Parabrahma by Jnanis and Paramatma by the yogis. He is called Bhagavan. The other 9 topics arise from Bhagavan. He is the Ashraya. He is also addressed as Paramatma and Parabrahman. Now the question is, आप बोल रहे परमात्मा, परब्रह्मन and Bhagavan, 3 Ashrayas are there, but इतनों में किसका शरण लेने का? 3 ज्यादा हो गया. एक तो बता दो, 3 मत. हाँ? No. 3 में हर एक के लिए अलग अलग इंग्लिश है, बट फॉर डिवोटीज के लिए एक बोलो. 3 अच्छे लग रहे हैं, बट हमारे लिए एक तो बोलो. That he will tell in the next 2 verses. Next two verses will indicate among these three, who is the final Ashraya. Three are Ashrayas only, no issues. Jnanis take shelter of Brahman, Yogis take shelter of Paramatma, devotees take shelter of Bhagavan. But among the three, who is the final Ashraya? Yo adhyatmiko yam purusha, so evadi daivaka, yat yatrayo bhaya vicheda purushoi adi bhautika.
The covering of the Jiva, known as the subtle sense organ, is not different from the presiding deities of the senses. The division of subtle sense organ and sense deity is not different from the gross organ of the material body.
Our body is made up of three components: Adhyatma, Adibhuta, and Adidaiva. Our body is made up of how many elements? How many elements?
5 elements.
Bapre.
Gross elements.
Are total
24 elements.
24 elements are divided into two parts. 10 one side, 14 one side. The 10 elements form our gross body. 14 elements form our subtle body. So the gross body is called as Adibhuta. Subtle body is called as Adhyatma. And the activities of the subtle body in relation to the gross body are performed under the supervision of the Devatas, who are called as Adi Daiva. So what Adibhuta consists of? Gross body. So 10 elements are there in the gross body. What are the 10 elements? Gross elements, Baba. 10 gross elements. Then what are the other 5? सेकंड घंटो पढ़ाई फायदा नहीं कुछ बचा है what are the 10 elements with which the gross body is made up of? भगवत इससे बाहर आ जाओ. भगवत गीता में 5 बताया. Okay, 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. 3 subtle body, 5 gross body. But according to Bhagavatam, gross body is made up of 10. Subtle body is made up of 14 out of the 24. So what are the 10 which makes the gross body? We don't have to tell numbers. Just then tell the name. Panchamahabhutas. 1 5 is over. What are the second 5? Okay, we'll come opposite say. What is the subtle body is made up of? What are the 14 elements with which that?
Understand sound, air, ether, that is also.
Don't ask me. You give the answer based on your understanding. What the subtle body is made up of? What are the 14 elements of the subtle body?
Yeah, then that 5 or the 5 Panchabhutas.
Are you listening?
Okay.
What I am asking. What are the 14 elements with which the subtle body is made up of?
Man, Buddhi, Ahankar, and the subtle sense organs. That is like the church.
Sorry, sir. Do you remember what are the 24 elements? What are the 24 elements? You don't have to tell them in each one, but in groups that you tell.
5 Karmendriyas,
5.
5 Jnanendriyas,
5.
5 Tanmatras,
5 Tanmatras.
and Man, Buddhi, Ahankar.
Then?
5 sense objects.
उन्होंने तन्मात्रास बोला. तन्मात्रा सिंथेसिस तो दोनों सेम है अलग है?
Consciousness.
And then another 5 Tanmatras. 15. 5
2 हफ्ता भी हुआ नहीं भूल गए तो जीवन पर कैसे याद रखेंगे?
5 sense objects.
What are the 14 elements with which our subtle body is made up of? We discussed this 100 times. If not 100, at least multiple times we mentioned. Simple ना, make a guess. Out of 24, select some 14. उतना भी नहीं कर सकते क्या?
Sound. Way.
Don't tell all those things. In groups you tell. Group का नाम है ना. Okay, I'll give you option. A, 5 Panchamahabhutas. B, 5 Tanmatras. C, 5 Jnanendriyas. D, 5 Karmendriyas. E, 4 Antakaranas.
4 Antakaranas.
Now you tell me, what the subtle body is made up of?
4 Antakaranas.
Uh,
And 5 Tanmatras.
Hare Krishna. We'll close here. No need to go further.
Karmendriyas
uh,
and no, Jnanendriyas.
Okay. 5 Tanmatras, 5 Jnanendriyas, and 4 Antakaranas.
Actually, this is a problem also, because we hear about something for multiple times. When something you hear little different, it is very difficult to change our previous understanding and accept the new understanding. Sir?
So differentiate में और में क्या register में
क्यों नहीं होता है? Simple है. We discussed it many times. It won't be there in that. वो बुक में नहीं मिलेगा आपको. ऐसा नहीं मिलेगा आपको. बुक में ऐसा नहीं, किधर भी नहीं मिलेगा.
ऐसा नहीं दिख रहा वो.
कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा.
टेबल देख रहा था.
हाँ. कोई भी टेबल देखो, अभी हम जो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं वो नहीं मिलेगा नहीं आपको. Subtle body is made up of 14 senses. We have 4 antakaranas, 10 bahya karanas. In Sanskrit, karana means senses. The 4 antakaranas are man, buddhi, ahankara, chetana. Okay. The 10 bahya karanas are 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas. These are all subtle. Why my understanding is that, why are you not getting about karmendriyas is, for you karmendriya means the physical. When you say hands, these are karmendriya means the physical hands you are always talk about. But senses are not physical. The hand is made up of skin, flesh, bones, blood, few more other things you can take. Saptadhatus. But all these are nothing but transformation of earth element, earth, water, fire. The physical body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And earth can never stay without fragrance. Water can never stay without taste. Fire can never stay without form. Air can never stay without fragrance, without touch. And ether can never stay without sound. So when Bhagavad Gita says that our gross body is made up of 5 Panchamahabhutas, by default 5 Tanmatras are included in that. You cannot keep the Tanmatras separate from the Panchamahabhutas. That's why our gross body is made up of 10 elements. 5 gross elements, 5 Tanmatras. And our subtle body is made up of 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, 4 Antakaranas. Now try to understand why Karmendriyas are subtle, Jnanendriyas are subtle. The nostril, which is there here, is a grass made up of flesh and bones, which are made up of earth, water, fire primarily. Okay, but this nostril is there. Nostril may not be a good example. The eyes, the eyeball is a fleshy item, which is a part of the grass body, which is made up of earth, water, fire. Okay, that is like an instrument, like the spectacles. If the spectacles are gone bad, I can change the spectacles. Okay, but spectacles alone does not help me see something. It may enhance my vision, but it will not see. Whatever reflection of the image which is coming on the surface of the spectacle, because the concave convex design is accepted by my eyeball retina, and that information goes from here to the heart, which is there in the, which is art in intelligence, which is there in the heart. the transition medium from the eyeball to the heart, that is the subtle sense organ eye, that is making our subtle body. The mechanism with which the information which is accumulated by the eyeball transmits from the eyeball to the heart, where intelligence is located, that is done by the subtle sense organ eye, which is called chakshu. The eyeball is called akshni in Sanskrit. Akshni is part of gross body. Chakshu is part of subtle body. The fleshy nostril is called as nasika. It is part of gross body. The grana, the mechanism, the smelling mechanism, whatever fragrance of the surrounding area, which will go from here to the heart, and in the intelligence in the heart says, okay, this is a good fragrance, this is a bad, foul smelling. The mechanism which goes all the way from here to there is called subtle sense organ. Like that, the gross fleshy ear which you see outside is called karna. But the mechanism which transmits the sound wave from the ear to the heart is called shrotram. And the skin, the outer skin is called tvacha or charma. So when the wind comes, there is touch sensation. The information which goes from ear to the heart, that is called sparshanam. And the tongue, whatever tongue you have here, that is a fleshy tongue. But the tongue's mechanism, this is called palat, or what we call talu. The fleshy tongue is called talu. Huh? But the mechanism, this talu will transfer the information of the taste from this skinny portion to the heart. That is called Jiva, the subtle mechanism. So all these subtle mechanisms combined together is called our subtle body. When a person dies, leaving behind the gross body made up of the 5 gross elements, 5 tanmatras, the Atma takes along with it the subtle body consisting of the 14 elements and also prana, the 5 pranas. It will go to the next body, into the next womb of mother. So it is like that. This distinction you should understand. If you don't understand distinction, we are always in confusion only. What is gross body? What is subtle body? Why so much confusion? Prabhupada says very simply 5 elements Bhagavad Gita mein. Gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, ether, and subtle body is made up of man, buddhi, ahankara. Then what about Chetana? What about the Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas? वो कहाँ से आएगा? So when you come to Bhagavatam, you need to have proper understanding. Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary study. That much is enough for us to understand Bhagavad Gita. But when you want to get into Bhagavatam, you need to do everything in Tattvataha. After knowing this, when you read Bhagavad Gita, then you understand. Shrotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granam evacha adhishtaya manaschayam vishaya anupasevate. Shrotram, chakshu, sparshanam, rasanam, granam. The 5 Krishna, 5 Jnanendriyas. Cha, there is a word comes cha at the end. That cha includes the 5 Jnanendriyas. Sorry, 5 Karmendriyas. Also 5 Karmendriyas. Cha means also. Also means what? And. Sometimes cha also and. Means in addition to 5 Karmendriya, 5 Jnanendriyas, there are also 5 Jnanendriyas. And also there are 5 pranas. Then manas, mind. There is cha. Cha means buddhi, ahankara, chetana. Taking 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, 5 pranas, 4 antakaranas, the soul moves from one body to other body. These 14 elements plus pranas, 5 pranas, is called as subtle body. What leaves behind is called as gross body. Gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, ether, and they also have their respective properties. That is the distinction between those two. The gross body is called as Adibhuta because it is made up of Panchamahabhutas. Subtle body is made up of 14 senses. That's why it is called as Adhyatma. Atma means subtle. Generally, Atma means subtle in nature. So all the subtle elements put together is called as Adhyatma aspect of the body. And Adidaiva means all the devatas who are supervising the activities of the 14 senses.
14, that is subtle.
Huh? 14 senses.
Subtle senses. So, devatas who
Senses
subtle-
means subtle only. Sense is always subtle only. Senses are always subtle. They are part of the subtle body. Grass body is only outer covering which is given to us. We use it for a few years, then give it up and move on to next grass body. Grass body is like the shed. Vashamcha jirnani yata vihaya naro parani. It's like that. When the dress becomes useless, give it up that and wear the new one. When the grass body becomes useless, give it up and wear new dress, new grass body. It's like that. It is not in without conscious. So it's like
Bhuta means gross.
Bhuta means Panchamahabhutas. So grass. Atma. Atma means subtle. Subtle.
Antakarna is also
Obviously, na.
Daiva means deciding difference.
Daiva means devatas. So the human body is made up of three aspects: Adhyatma, Adibhuta, and Adidaiva. And these three cannot exist independently. These three depend upon each other. For one to function, the other two are required. Without the other two, anyone cannot function. तीन है ना, अध्यात्म, आदिभूत, आदिदेव. ये तीनों में दूसरों के बिना एक कोई भी काम नहीं कर सकते. तीनों को बाकी दोनों का जरूरत है, उसके बिना काम नहीं कर सकते. That is their dependence. The Lord has said, Vishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekamshena sito jagat. I am situated by my portion everywhere in this world. Two verses now show the difference between the Ashraya from situated as Ashraya form, situated as Antaryami within all bodies and the individual Jivas. Somebody may say that, why not Jiva is Ashraya? Why not Atma is Ashraya? Why only Paramatma, Brahman, Bhagavan only Ashraya? Why Jiva is not Ashraya? That is indicated now. In these two verses, why Jiva is not Ashraya? Among the three, who is the supreme Ashraya? These two aspects are revealed. The covering known as the subtle sense organ, Adhyatmika Purusha, is the controlling deity of the sense organ, Adidevaka, such as the sun deity who controls the eye, since both the eye and the present deity of the eye are the amshas of the sun deity. Among all substances, the portion which has divisions of senses and sense deity is not different from the covering of the Jiva, known as the visible organ. The gross organ and sense objects are called the gross body. The gross organs, earth, water, fire, ether, and the five sense objects, five tanmatras, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all these put together is called gross body. The word Purusha is used in all these cases to indicate that these are coverings on the body, on the Jiva. That this meaning of Purusha is found in Shruti statements such as Sava etasya Purusho Anna Rasa Maya. The Purusha is composed of food and taste. The Purusha is composed of food and taste because the Purusha is maintained by the food and taste. Food with taste. Who is maintained by food and taste? Grass body. And eventually subtle body. And also Devatas. All these are maintained by food with taste. Without food, no one can be maintained in this world. That's why they are also called as Purusha. Adhyatma, Adibhuta, Adidaiva also need something to maintain for them. They need something to maintain for them. That's why they are called as Purusha. So it's like that. So since these three depend on each other, they are said to be non-different from each other. They are as good as the other, like that it is indicated. So how they depend on each other? We have eyeball. We have the subtle eye organ, and we have the light here. For me to see you, light is there. Okay, you are there. My eyeball is also there, but I don't have the capability to see. Will I be able to see you? Then what is the use of you being there and light being there and me having the eyeball? Is there any use of all these things? Is there any use? Okay. Now, I have the ability to see. Light is also there, but my eyeball got damaged just now because there is a pinprick. Eyeball got damaged. Will I be able to see you? Unless I replace that eyeball, I can't see you. My eyeball is there. I can see also. You are there in front of me, but light is not there. Will I be able to see you? Are you getting?
So senses उनके presiding detail. So I am compared to ऐसा कुछ है क्या?
Huh?
This light is compared to
Now the light is Adi Deva.
Adideva.
The sense organ.
Presiding deity.
Presiding deity.
Who is controlling?
The
मतलब
presiding
जो
deity.
कि facilitate कर रहा है.
Facilitate कर रहा है. Yes.
मैं जो हूँ जो gross हूँ.
You are only object.
हाँ,
Now I am seeing. Take the example of me. This is Adi Deva. Okay. The eye mechanism is Adhyatma. The subtle sense organ of the eye is Adhyatma. The eyeball, which is the part of the gross body, okay, that is Adibhuta. Adibhuta has two components, Panchamahabhutas and Tanmatra.
Adibhuta, Panchamahabhuta
And Tanmatra. So my eyeball is part of Panchamahabhuta, and you, whom I am seeing, you are my object of vision. You are my sense object. You are my Tanmatra. Okay? You are my Tanmatra because I am seeing you. My eyeball with which I am seeing, that is my Adibhuta. The eye mechanism, that is my Adhyatma. And the light is my Adi Deva. So like that. Total 4 are there. Adi Deva, Adhyatma, and Adibhuta also. Adibhuta, gross sense organ. Tanmatra. It's like that. The entire world for me is Tanmatra. Except myself, the entire world is Tanmatra for me. Sound is Tanmatra, but sound comes from others. Sound comes from other. ना आप बोलेगा तो sound आएगा ना.
वो सोच रहा इधर से.
Ether is a medium. When you make sound, I will hear. When this fall down, I will hear. The object makes sound, person makes sound. These are all belongs outside of me. You are Tanmatra for me. This chair is Tanmatra for me. I am Tanmatra for you. Similarly, when I speak, you hear. When you speak, I am here. I hear. I am hearing. So the entire world I see as Tanmatra for me. So it's like that. So everything is included. My gross body is made up of Panchamahabhutas. That is my Adibhuta. And I have 14 senses. 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, 4 Antakarana. That is my Adhyatma. And there are Devatas who are facilitating my activities. They are Adi Deva. And the entire world is my Tanmatra. And Tanmatra is also part of Adibhuta. So like that. That's how everything is covered. Is there anything excluded? 2 people are excluded. Atma and Paramatma are excluded. So let us see who are Atma, who are Paramatma. Ekam ekatarabhave yada nopa labamaye tritiyam tatra yo veda saatma swashraya.
Hence, we cannot perceive one item in absence of one of the other items. He who is independent of these three is the Atma. But the shelter of the Atma is the Paramatma. Last one, you explained Why Jiva is not actually called as the shelter?
That's what we are discussing. I told 2 verses. This section is up to 9th verse. These 3 depend upon each other for their existence. But these 3 can only be functional only when there is Atma. Atma नहीं रहेगा तो 3 काम करेगा क्या? कुछ काम कर सकते क्या? These 3 depend upon Atma. Then we should say that then Atma should be the shelter. If the entire universe is made up of Adhyatma, Adibhuta and Adidaiva, and these 3 depend upon the help of other 2 for function, but for them to perform any activity also, they need Atma. For Atma only they are performing all the activities. So Atma must be their master. Atma must be their shelter. But unfortunately, for Atma to perform anything, Atma needs the support of Paramatma. Paramatma के बिना Atma भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So Atma himself taking shelter of Paramatma. So Atma cannot be final shelter. Atma may be the shelter for Adhyatma, Adibhuta, Adideva, but it cannot be final shelter. So Atma is taking shelter of Paramatma. So Paramatma should be final shelter. Somebody might question. Just like that Adhyatma, Adibhuta and Adideva taking shelter of Atma, and just like Atma taking shelter of Paramatma, Paramatma also might be taking shelter of somebody else. But it says that Swa, Ashraya, Ashraya. Atma takes the shelter of someone who is his own shelter. Paramatma does not depend on anybody else. He is his own shelter. Paramatma is Swa Ashraya. He gives shelter to himself. He does not take anybody's shelter. That's why he is the permanent, is the final shelter. Since Paramatma does not depend upon anyone else, he is the final shelter. He is the Ashraya which is described in the Bhagavatam. It's
When we have any reference of saying that the shelter of Atma is Paramatma.
without Paramatma, what you can do? Sarvasya chaham udisannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. It is from Paramatma only everything is coming, not from Atma. That verse indicates Paramatma or Atma. And then Enta Rodani Maya. What is that verse? How does it begin? Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rodani Maya. Who stays in the heart of every living entity? This verse talks about whom? हाँ. और क्या चाहिए? और एविडेंस चाहिए?
But I am the Untitled chapter में क्या है? 1.5 अहम बीज पदार्थ प्रदाते.
हाँ. हम बीज प्रदापिता.
That cannot see.
That is 12. That is 14:4. Because of the interdependence of the 3 items, in order for them to function, they are shown to be different from Atma. Without the gross organ on the body, the subtle sense which is known to function by performance of perception cannot function. Without the subtle sense organ, the present deity of the senses, whose presence is inferred from the action of that sense, cannot function. Without the present deity of the sense, the subtle sense organ cannot operate. And without the subtle sense organ, the gross organ cannot operate. Since in the absence of one of the 3, the other cannot come ascertained. He who knows these three, who is not dependent on them, is called Jiva. The Jiva knows all these three, but he is still independent of all the three. That's why he is called as their master. So here is a verse from 6th canto 4th chapter, which says that the body, deha, the life airs, the senses, internal senses, that is manbuddhi ahankara chetana, grass elements, panchamahabhutas, and sense objects, 5 tanmatras, do not know themselves or other things are the jiva. All these things, the gross body, the life air, the senses, karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, mantakaranas, panchamahabhutas, and the 5 tanmatras do not know themselves or other things are the jiva. The jiva knows all these items and the gunas which cause them. The jiva knows about the material body made up of 24 elements and also the 3 gunas which are binding them. He also knows Paramatma, but does not know the omniscient, unlimited Lord. I worship that Lord with infinite qualities. The Jiva,
He also knows the Paramatma.
the Jiva, through inference can understand that it is only by the inspiration of Paramatma is performing all these activities. He understands that there is something, someone called Paramatma is there, Sarvakhetrechu Bharata. But he does not know the form, qualities and activities and qualities of that Paramatma, who is called as Bhagavan. He only infer that there is someone called Paramatma. But what is the nature of the Paramatma? What is the form of that Paramatma? What are the qualities and activities of the Paramatma? He cannot understand on his own. That understanding only comes from Bhagavan only. When Bhagavan reveals, Bhaktyama Abhijanati, Yavanya Chasmita, Tatoma Tato Jnanda, Jitandram. One get the realization of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan only from Bhagavan only, not on its own. It's like that. Sarva refers to these 3 coverings of the Jiva. The Jiva knows these 3 coverings. Jagrita Swapna Sushuptam cha gunato buddhi vitvrittaya tasam vilakshano Jiva sakshitvena vivakshita. Waking, sleeping and deep sleep, the 3 functions of the intelligence are caused by the 3 gunas. The Jiva is ascertained to be different from these 3 states since it is the witness of them. The Atma is only Sakshi. Atma does not do anything. The activities that we perform during Jagruta Avastha, during Swapna Avastha, during Sushupti Avastha, they are all performed by 3 gunas only. Prakrite, Gunai, Sarvasha. Ahankara, Kartaham. Only Ahankara says that I am the doer of every activity which are actually done by Prakriti. In the form of the gross body, the senses, Antakaranas, etc. Atma is simply Sakshi. Atma is not at all the doer. He is only a Sakshi. What is the nature of the Jiva? The Jiva takes shelter of Paramatma, whose shelter is himself. This is the meaning. The Jiva is the shelter of all the 3 items. The subtle sense, the sensitivity, and the gross sense in the body, which are mutually dependent. The shelter of the Jiva is Paramatma. Who is the shelter of Paramatma? He himself is the shelter of Paramatma. So it's like that. So when in Bhagavatam Shloka says Paramatma, Paramatma means includes Brahman and Bhagavan. These 3 are non-different from each other. It is all the 3. So like that. So that is the understanding. Paramatma is the shelter of Paramatma. Thus Paramatma is the ultimate shelter. Since Lord Krishna says that by his amshas, he pervades the world, it should be understood that Lord Krishna is the shelter of Paramatma. Where did he say that by his amsha he pervades the entire world? Huh? Shloka bata do na. Ekamshena sito jagat. Yadyad vibhuti masattam srimat urjimeva tatta deva gatattam mama teja amsa sambhava. Everything is the teja of my amsha. Who is his amsha? My amsha is Paramatma, whom we can say as Shirodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Kaldaksha Vishnu, where it may be, that Paramatma is an amsha of the Supreme Lord. That means Paramatma is an amsha of Bhagavan. Thus, Lord Krishna is the chief shelter. Paramatma is his amsha, is also called the shelter. And Brahman, being his impersonal form, is also called a shelter. Brahman is impersonal form. Thus, the one shelter is seen in three different forms according to the type of the worshipper. The Jnani see him as Brahman, Yogi see him as Paramatma, devotee see him as Bhagavan. So, that's how the section ends. Now, the new section begins. Now, understood? What is what are the 10 topics and with the Ashraya of whom? Everything. In the 8th chapter, Parishit Maharaj asked so many questions. So, you at one place you said that the planets are identified with the body limbs of the universal form. At other place, the body limbs of the universal form are identified with the planets. This I have heard. If there are more details, please explain. Is there more to universal form? Then you please explain. Now, Sukadeva Goswami is going to talk about the universal form, which gives more details than this. The difference between the Jiva and the Lord has been established through the 10 characteristics of a Mahapurana, and thus Bhakti to the Lord has been hinted at the deliverance of the Jiva from the world. When it is said that Brahman and Paramatma are subservient of Bhagavan, Brahman is attained by Jnana, Paramatma is attained by Yoga, Bhagavan is attained by Bhakti. If Brahman and Paramatma are subservient of Bhagavan, then Karma, Jnana and Yoga are also subservient of Bhakti. By indicating the Supreme Ashraya as Bhagavan, Bhakti is indicated as the Supreme Sadhana. Both are analogs to each other. If you say one, the second thing is automatically indicated. Now, Srila Sukadeva Goswami speaks in order to explain a topic which he promised with saying that Yed utaham tvaya purushto vairajat purushaditam yatasi tad upakya. I will explain what you asked me concerning how this universe arose from the universal form in 2946. One of the last words of the previous chapter, which Sukadeva Goswami promised. Now he is going to talk about that. Why do you always speak about the universal form and the self? Why is there so little sweet discussions about the qualities and the form of the Lila Avataras? From the beginning of the second canto, you are talking about universal form, universal form, universal form. So much talk by the hearer is getting bored, the reader is getting bored, is asking question. There is no activities of the Lila Avataras. In one chapter, in 7th chapter, briefly you mentioned Lord Varaha this activity, Kurma this activity, Vamana this activity, Rama this activity, Krishna this. Briefly you mentioned. Why are you not elaborating the Lila Avataras? What you observe is true. There is no talk about Lila Avataras. To whom should topics about the Lila Avataras be taught with relish? Those who have perfected bhakti or the Nityasiddhas constantly play spontaneously in the sweet ocean of Lord's beauty and pastimes. A perfected devotee can relish the pastimes of the Lila Avataras. Ordinary people, if they hear about Lila Avataras so much, they say, अब बहुत हो गया कितना बोलते रहते हैं हमेशा ये किया वो बोलते रहते हैं हमेशा मैं भी करता हूँ उसमें क्या बड़ी बात है like that normal people will say unless until one has complete faith in the Supreme Lord, that Shraddha for the Lord, that love for the Lord, one cannot relish the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. For people in general, Maya Shitanam Naradarakena, the people affected by Maya consider Lord Krishna to be one of the human being, human child only. They don't see Krishna the supreme absolute truth. That is the problem. So, since they cannot relish the pastimes of the Lila Avataras, they cannot be spoken to such kind of people. But those who are sleeping on the bed of bliss of sense pleasure, under supervision of Maya, and thus you have fainted in the waves of suffering arising from karma, cannot be woken up. Those people who are in deep slumber of material enjoyment, they cannot be woken up by Leela pastimes. By speaking Leela pastimes to them, they cannot get up because they take them cheaply. They take all these pastimes as fairy tales. बहुत बहुत बोल रहा है सब, कौन देगा, कौन मानता है, जाओ हट जाओ. So like that, no one give any respect to the pastimes of the Levataras. How can the pastimes of the Lord be taught to them? This schedule of the Puranas, being most merciful, thinking of how to give instructions to make them into sadhaka bhaktas, constantly attempts by some trick or other to wake them up from the deep slumber of materialistic sense enjoyment. Just as a limb burned by fire is given relief by fire, and a person haunted by a ghost is revived by a ghost mantra, so Jiva's absorption in the sleep of Maya can be broken by the topics concerning Maya. The medicine should be appropriate. If your hand is a hand, the finger is get burned by fire. How it is rectified? How the medicine is administered? Burn. उसमें भी बर्निंग है ना. थोड़ा बर्न हो गया, उसको पूरा बर्निंग कर रहे हैं आप बर्नल से.
The traditional way in which it is used, there would have been some traditional treatment.
Even I also don't know, but a bodily limb burned by fire is given relief by fire only. Traditionally, they might be using that kind of treatment. Maybe it is relieved by fire element. A fire element can counteract another fire element. That is that analogy like that. When there is a problem with the milk, it can be solved by curd. Both are milk products only. If there is diarrhea by eating lot of sweet milk products, we are told to eat curd. Curd causes constipation. If somebody is troubled by constipation, they are told to drink milk. The milk are milk products, which will cause loose motions. Excessive milk causes loose motions, or milk in a particular way, if you accept, it causes loose motions. Curd causes constipation. So it's like that. Same way, fire का भी कुछ रहेगा. Even we do, brahmacharis all do, because our digestion fire is very slow. We are recommended to drink hot water. After the meal, if you want to take, better to drink is hot water or warm water, not with the cold water generally. Because दोनों फायर है ना, एक फायर को दूसरा फायर मदद करते हैं. So like that. And a person haunted by a ghost is revived by a ghost mantra only. If you chant some other mantra, can he be revived? No. Hare Krishna mantra will not remove ghost. The ghost also will become ecstatic. The ghost also will dance inside.
It will be liberated. It will become liberated. So it will leave the body.
No. Ghost will become more powerful. Ghost will also get energies, powers by chanting Harinam, more powers than the person. The ghost may chant more sincerely than the person. The ghost will become more powerful. The ghost can be relieved by a ghost mantra only. Okay. Narsinga mantra is a special mantra. It can avoid the influence of the ghost. But removal of the ghost is ghost mantra. Majority people will go to ghost mantra only. Very few will come to Narsinga Dev.
Is it?
He told Narsinga mantra karke.
Is it? Which? You will
The ghost can be removed by
Prevented.
by
Nothing
nursing
other
mother.
than
Prevent.
Can prevent.
But when already person is affected by ghost, first we need to apply ghost mantra, remove it, then apply nursing mantra so that further protection will be there. So it's like that. Okay. A person is in deep slumber of Maya. How can be revived? By knowing about Maya, what Maya is. Unless until we know Maya, what is Maya, how can we understand we are in Maya? Can you understand? Maya kya pata nahi to. How can we say people say that we are in Maya? What do you mean by Maya? First of all, we should know what is Maya. So what is Maya? We understand by reading through creation past tense. Nostril. Otherwise, without proper understanding of the Supreme we can never come out of the Maya. Without coming out of the Maya, we can never know the Supreme Lord. You remember Bhagavad Gita 18:54-55. Bhaktyamam or Brahmabhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakamshati means what? The pinnacle of Sattva. That is the boundary of Maya. The next step is without Maya. Then there is only Bhakti. Without Bhakti, one understand about Bhagavan and Brahman or Paramatma. That is only by Bhakti. So as long as we are in Maya, we can never understand Bhagavan or we can never realize Bhagavan. We need to go out of Maya. In order to go out of Maya, we should know what is Maya. Without knowing Maya, how can we go out? So that is it. It has been said, Maya Varnayo Tamusha Ishwarasya Anumodata Shrunvata Shraddhaya Nityam Mayatma Na Muyati. If Jiva constantly describes Maya in relation to the Lord, remembers Maya or hears about Maya with proper faith, he will not be bewildered by Maya. One who makes Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam of Maya continuously, how frequently? Shrunvato, hearing, Shraddhaya, regularly, Nityam, regularly, Shraddhaya, with faith, Nityam, regularly. Then only one can become freed from Maya. But even though by the shower of nectar of the pastimes of the Lord, obtained by the mercy of the devotee, the person sleeping in the happiness of Maya or fainting in the suffering of the karmas, wakes up, becomes drenched, revitalized, dances, and rejoices blissfully. Only those who obtain that great mercy become successful and not others. This special krupa may be possible for few, very minority, not for everyone. But for people in general, the recommended process to come out of Maya is to know Maya. Is to study about the Maya properly, then slowly come out of the Maya. Then they can hear about Krishna Katha, then they can release Krishna Katha. Till then, they cannot release Krishna Katha. A jaundice person affected with jaundice cannot experience sweetness of the sugar candy. First, they need to come out of jaundice. Then only they can experience sweetness.
So, with respect to our current context of Islam, so the second statement, when we hear the past tense of the Lord by the devotee, then also the following consequences, whatever I mentioned, is that possible?
Only for few. By hearing Krishna Katha, those who are ready to say that enough is enough, now I got the nectar, I don't want anything here and there, then they will get it. Does everyone say like that? Especially a person like me can never say. Not a statement of humility, but actually, if that is the thing, if we have said enough is enough, we would have gone to spiritual world. We no need to continue here. We are still continuing here means we have not come to that point. That is possible, but only for few, but not for all.
Understanding the second that point is actually emphasizing more on the person who is actually giving that.
Yes, the giver also is important.
Our endeavor to actually understand.
Yes, even though by the shower of the nectar of the pastimes of the Lord obtained by the mercy of the devotees, it is by the mercy of the devotee, not for anyone and everyone, only by a Uttama Bhakta, not from Madhyamadhikari and Kanishthadhikari, by Uttamadhikari only. The person sleeping in the happiness of Maya or fainting in the suffering of karmas wakes up, becomes drenched and revitalized, dances and rejoices blissfully. Only those who obtain that great mercy become successful in there and not others. Like Mrugari. We only have the example of Mrugari, one hunter who became pure devotee. But he is the only one hunter in the entire history. Then what about other hunters? Mrugari heard Narada Muni and followed. All others might have heard Narada Muni but not followed. That's why they remain hunters only. In spite of receiving the mercy of the great souls, one who accept that mercy are very rare. That's why that is not meant for all. Only few may get that Krupa Siddhi. But all others should be Sadhana Siddhi. The low Jivas, desiring to cross the material world and have developed determination to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru, can be delivered by constantly hearing about the Lord, about the self. For these reasons, there is repeated discussion of the self. Those who are faithful devotees of the Lord will relish the nectar of the whole Bhagavatam.
Understanding, there is one method which is trying to actually understand the topics which are connected to Maya, trying to understand Maya, and then trying to understand the Lord, approaching the past tense of the Leela Avtara.
First, understand Maya, understand who we really are. I, then understand Paramatma. Then realize I, then realize Paramatma.
And there is other process, that is by hearing by the potent devotee who is actually giving the pastimes of the Lord and ensuring the faith. So in both, these are two different processes.
Not hearing, not instilling faith. By drenching one with the mercy, Krupa Siddhi, like a bird, ocean aata hai na, everything will go away. Then only a person can come to that point. It is not by getting some faith or getting to hear about the Lord once in a, not like that. Not that kind of will not. That's what we are receiving that.
Because the example of Mrugari which you are referring,
Mrugari received instantly.
he actually obtained
Mercy of the Narada
flood
Muni.
of
Flood of mercy, yes.
At the same time, he also actually received the mercy by putting the endeavor to follow the instruction. So
Overnight में transformation हो गया. Transformation के लिए कितना time लगा? You see that. What endeavor did he put afterwards? No endeavor. कुछ endeavor नहीं. वो सुना, just follow के बस. Till now, he was practicing the hunting. He stopped overnight. Next day, did not do any hunting only. He just sitting there and doing his bhajan. That's all. Is he working? Food is coming on its own only. We have also heard. Did we stop? If we have stopped, mobile won't be there with us. Even we won't be here. That is the difference. That happens instantly. Out of Krupa. If it is not instant, that is sadhana. Valmiki also another example.
Yes. Kripa Siddha, but he performs sadhana after that.
What sadhana he did?
Ram.
वो थोड़े दिन के लिए किया होगा.
60,000 years.
उनके लिए थोड़ा ही है. Valmiki's lifespan is like that of one day of Brahma. वो पूरा दिन में कितना?
One day of Brahma तो बाद में रहेगा ना. He was a hunter only, no? In the beginning.
Okay.
He performed sadhana. So he was Kripa Siddha or sadhana Siddha?
Krupa Siddha. Sadhana is only additional attachment.
So now whatever the devotees in ISKCON, what the devotees have followed, so they are also under the Kripa Siddha
Sadhana.
Because when a pure devotee actually intervenes.
See, Prabhuji, see, don't make generalized statements. There also Krupa is there, but the Krupa is only minimal. That is only giving us Ado Shraddha. Then we need to endeavor to come to Prema. But there, that Krupa is directly giving them Prema. When Mahaprabhu embraced someone, he directly gave Prema or Ado Shraddha.
Why I am asking these questions is, so then in ISKCON, he actually emphasized more on the pastimes of the Lord. And even in the general lectures at any point of time, we actually emphasize more on the our discussion also actually happens with respect to the pastimes of the Lord. but very less with respect to technical topics like the Maya and the Maya in connection with the Lord and the Tattva. So then the next question comes is, then why that model is actually followed? The whole model should have been like the explanation of the Maya and
Here you have to see two different things. In our temple classes, they're all meant for inspiration. Okay? For the inspiration, whatever needed at that point of time should be given. And the giver also keep changing. Giver is not one person. If one person is given some respective amount of time, they can systematically speak. One person is given chance once in 3 months for 1 hour. So whatever inspired him, he speaks. Okay. But what we are doing here, systematically studying Shastra. So here we have to go progression, in progress, step by step. Don't see this study of Shastra to temple Bhagavatam classes. And what audience today Bhagavatam classes are there, tomorrow they won't be there. To speak systematically, so what is the use? किसके लिए बोल रहे हो? उधर बोल के कुछ फायदा नहीं. That is Prabhupada's strategy. That's why Prabhupada does not go through systematically. Every purport, Prabhupada repeat the same points. Every purport, Prabhupada says, you are not the body, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, if you see, chapter 3 talks about karma. Prabhupada never talk about karma. Prabhupada, every verse, he talks about bhakti only. Chapter 4 talks about jnana. Prabhupada talks about bhakti only. Prabhupada knows that Kali Yuga people does not want to study systematically. If they study at least one page, they should get the highest essence. For the so-called Kali Yuga restless, patientless person, Prabhupada is giving what is the final thing in every page. अभी थोड़ा भी पढ़ो आपको समझ में आना चाहिए. We are not the body, Krishna is the final destiny. The means is bhakti. When we do systematically, we understand that karma. In karma, there are 3 divisions. Something called vikarma, something called sakama karma, something called nishkama karma, something called nishkama karma yoga. In jnana, again there are 2 divisions. Something called bhakti hina jnana, something called bhakti mishra jnana. In yoga, there are again 2 divisions. Bhakti hina yoga, bhakti with bhakti mishra yoga. In bhakti, again there are multiple divisions. Karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti, ananya bhakti, akinchana bhakti, kevala bhakti. All these things, if you want to know what they are, if you want to understand what they are, it will take 1 year. For Bhagavatam class, 1 year the person will get only once or twice. So you see the distinction. Setup is different. And neither the person speaking is not constant, neither the person hearing is not constant. So what you will speak? So instead of speaking all these technical things, just to present what is needed according to the person's capacity. क्या उनका कैपेसिटी? उनको इतना समझ में आना चाहिए, I am stuck up in this material world which is like the jail. I need to get out. The procedure is bhakti. What is bhakti? Chanting Hare Krishna mantra. बस इतना ही है. Does bhakti chanting Hare Krishna mantra only? Not. Bhakti has many other aspects also. 64 items are there in the nectar of devotion. One of the 64 items is chanting. So, but this person only that much only can do. He cannot do much more. But for a systematically studying person, should know all the 64. He should understand when to practice where, what to practice when and where. They should study everything what is what thoroughly. That's why we discuss all these things. If it is not for Bhakti Vaibhav, we can't discuss all these things outside. Even they will not sit and hear also all these things. बहुत हो गया, अब क्या बोलते हैं अभी, ये सब क्रिएशन बेचना है, सब सुन के बहुत बोर लग रहा है अभी. हो गया तो स्टोरी बताओ, सुनेगा.
So in our personal practice with respect to growing bhakti, so in our personal time, whenever if we have, so should we focus more on the technical aspects like this, or should we actually focus more on the Leela Avataras?
For a devotee, by the mercy of the Lord, who has some intelligence who developed some inclination to study Shastra, to study Shastra thoroughly. Who has some intelligence, who has some inclination. These two are required to study Shastra systematically and thoroughly. And for others who do not have inclination, who do not have that kind of intellectual capacity, it's okay. They can be busy with other services. They can do other services. No issue. It is not a studying all the technology is not a mandatory. But those who can, they should do. If they can't do, that is they are not doing their 100%. Those who can but not doing, they are not doing something. But those who cannot do, we should not force upon them. We should do it like that. Itna कर सकते ना करना चाहिए. That's why Prabhupada writes in the entire second canto many purports. Without understanding the greatness of the Lord, we cannot appreciate the sweetness of the Lord. Especially as a brahmacharis, if at all we want to become the teachers in the future, we need to study thoroughly. If we are not study thoroughly, how can we teach to others? So like that we should see. Okay. So what's happening outside may not be what we are reading here. You cannot correlate with them. The situation is there different and the situation here is different. For example, in the last 500 years, how many devotees might have been there? Well, many thousands might have been there, devotees. Many devotees might have been there who are devotees at heart. Out of them, how many the people who are well known as the well-renowned scholars? Very few. And there are many devotees, but there are many few scholars. And the many devotees must have followed the teachings of the few scholars. But how many of the many devotees, how many from the many devotees have really heard the whole teachings of the acharyas? Very few. Matlab, anyone can become devotee, but everyone cannot read through the entire Shastra. So as much they can digest, that much they will do. Some people are getting enough inspiration by hearing Krishna Katha. That is good for them. They can move on, no problem. But somebody who wants to thoroughly understand what Shastra is teaching us, we need to spend time and get into deeper teachings of Shastra. So it's like that. Now, first of all, forget about whether we need all these things. Whether does this make sense?
Yeah.
What is stated here, the person who is simply submerged in Maya, if we want to wake him up, he should be told about what Maya is all about. So what technicalities we are talking about here, Prabhupada states in one sentence. He states, you are not the body, you are not the body, repeatedly states. So why we are not the body? For more details, here the details are there. But he may not have the patience to understand all the details. If you understand the one statement, that is also enough for that person. So I am not the body, I am not the body, I am not the body. So let me not work, let me not worry about the body. Let me work for the soul. That much is enough for them. So it's like that. For these reasons, there is a repeated discussion of the self. Those who are faithful devotees of the Lord will relish the nectar of the whole Bhagavatam. But those who have faith on the Shraddha and the Bhakti and Bhagavan and Bhagavatam, they will read through the entire Bhagavatam. They don't say that, okay, I already have faith. Why should I read this creation pastime? Let me directly hear Krishna Katha. Does Prabhupada ever encouraged directly hearing Krishna's intimate pastimes? Prabhupada always encouraged that one should read from the first canto Bhagavatam all the way up to 9th canto, then 10th canto, then read further. That means we need to read through second canto and third canto systematically and properly, though it is technical. This scripture does not only speak about Bhagavan, though he is the main topic. It also speaks about the impersonal aspect of the Lord, known as Brahman, and his portion, known as Paramatma. For it was said in the beginning, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaneti Shabdaye. The Supreme Absolute Truth manifests in three features. There should be description about the three features of Supreme Absolute Truth in the Bhagavatam. Thus, repeated discussion of the self is suitable for the worshippers of Brahman and the worshippers of Paramatma. By this means, being most generous, Bhagavatam produces bhakti in even the worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma. Bhakti even appears in those who have reached perfection in Brahman and Paramatma. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgranta api urukrame kurvanti ayatukim bhaktim ittam bhuta punohri. So there are two things. The descriptions which we are reading in the second canto, all these things, they generally come in the category of jnana. Knowledge about this material world, how the material world is created, maintained, and unled, etc. comes in the category of jnana. In Bhakti, when we say Shravanam, the majority of the Shravanam contain the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Nama, Rupa, Gun, Lila. But the Shravanam also contains a minority portion of Srishti Lila. Srishti is also Bhagavan's Lila only. Nama, Rupa, Gun, Lila is Lila. So avatars are different types. Lila avatars, Guna avatars, Purusha avatars. So when we are hearing Avatar Lila, that also considers Guna Avatar Lila and Purusha Avatar Lila. It is not out of the scope. But devotee might hear the Lila Avatar Lila for majority of time, but they should never neglect the hearing of Guna Avatar Lila and Purusha Avatar Lila. That is also part of that. But for the Jnanis and Yogis, the Purusha Avatar Lila itself is the main topic. The Lila Avatar Lila is the minority of topic. For them, that becomes minority. The priorities interchange. The Jnanis and Yogis also hear about Lila Avatara. That is only minority. For devotees, the majority, minority will be Purusha Avatara and Guna Avatara. Like that, one can see. Those persons, their sadhana and the results they achieve are not rejected by the pure devotees, but looked upon with sympathy. The jnana, yoga, and the results, Brahman, are not rejected, but looked upon with sympathy. Because there is no seva aspect. Lord Krishna, who is completely full of sweetness in his form, qualities, and pastimes, and possesses dharma, jnana, bala, and aishwarya, since he contains all the avatars such as Matsya and Kurma and aspects of Brahman and Paramatma as well, he is worshipped by all types of devotees. This scripture, being non-different from Lord Krishna's Swarupa, Puranam Brahma Samhitam, thus reveals Lord Krishna the source of all avatars, Brahman and Paramatma. So Srimad Bhagavatam reveals Krishna the source of all that exists. So in that way. It reveals his qualities, his pastimes, his fitness, and his powers, and the method to attain him, that is sadhana bhakti, and the goal of sadhana bhakti, that is prema bhakti, as well all principles such as dharma, jnana, yoga, and vairagya. Dharma means varnas and dharma, that means karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, vairagya, everything is presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, everything is consistent in Bhagavatam. Like that, all these different things are presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. कितना वर्सेस है? 50 वर्सेस है. अभी तक 9 वर्सेस कंप्लीट हो गया. टाइम देखो.
जब नेक्टर बहता है तो पता ही नहीं चलता टाइम.
ऐसा चल रहा है.
हैप्पी मोमेंट्स आर गोन वेरी क्विकली. आपने बोला आपने
सो गए तो भी टाइम जल्दी जल्दी पास हो जाता है. सो गए तो भी पास होता है टाइम जल्दी जल्दी. Okay, we'll see 4-5 verses, then we'll stop today. And tomorrow, you people are not going for a Rath Yatra, no? Okay, good. You don't know which Rath Yatra also, then we'll continue with our class. No question. If you are not going, not going. So we will do it tomorrow. Timing may be different, but we will do it. We'll complete. Purushondam Vinirvidya Yada Susa Vinirgata Atmano Ayanam Anvichan Apo Srakshi Suchi Suchi.
And the pure Purusha, separating himself from the universe, remained outside, desiring a place to lie down in the universe. He created the pure waters of the Garbhodaka.
So this verse is a connection from the 5th chapter. In the end of the 5th chapter, it is mentioned that after creating 24 elements, okay, Lord Vishnu entered into them as cohesive energy, then combined them. They all became Brahmandas, unlimited Brahmandas. And all the Brahmandas were floating on the Karna ocean. Then Karmadakshaya Vishnu, expanding himself as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, entered into the universe. He stayed in the universe for one lifespan of Brahma. Then he came out and reunited with Karmadakshaya Vishnu and remained there as Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Verse number 32, 33, 34, 35 of 5th chapter.
He again reunited with
Garbhodakshaya Vishnu again reunites with Karmadakshaya Vishnu. Initially he expanded and again he reunites. मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, उधर नहीं रहे. You need to read between the lines. Okay. What did he do when he entered into the universe? You said that he stayed there for 100 years of lifetime Brahma. So what did he do there? That is now. That is mentioned now. There it is not mentioned. कुछ प्रश्न समस्या है क्या?
नहीं, उस टाइम पे आपने बताया भी नहीं था.
मैं वही बताया था 10th के चैप्टर में आएगा करके. वर्षपूगा सहस्रांते तदंडम उदके शयम काल कर्म स्वभावस्तो जीवम जीवयत. After 1,000 years, the Lord, known as Mahavishnu, situated in time, karma and swabhava, brought to life the non-living universe which was lying in the waters of Karna ocean by entering into as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Okay. He entered into universe which is floating on the Karna ocean and brought to life. How long he stayed there? Sayeva Purushattasma Dandam Nirbidya Nirgaha Sahasroru Angri Bahu Aksha Sahasranana Shirshavan. The Purusha entered the universe, stayed there for one lifespan of Brahma, then pierced the universe. He came outside. There he is seated with Sahasra Shirsha Purusha with 1,000 legs, feet, arms, eyes, faces, and heads as Mahavishnu. How long he stayed in the universe? One lifespan of Brahma. For 1,000 years, the Brahmanda is floating in the Karna ocean. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu stays in the universe for one lifespan of Brahma. What did you do on that long? Utna samay kya kiya? Purusho andam vinirvidya yada susa vinirgata atmano ayanam. So he entered into the universe, stayed there for 1,001 lifespan of Brahma, then came out. But in between, he wanted to do something. Atmano ayanam anvichan. He developed a desire to take rest. After going into the universe, he had to stay there for 100 years of Lord Brahma. But he does not want to do anything, he just want to take rest. So rest लेने के लिए bed चाहिए ना? So bed के लिए he created water from his own transcendental body. That water filled the lower half of the universe, which became known as Garbhodaka ocean.
This is one of the answers what Parikshit Maharaj asked to.
हो सकते हैं. All the
Where
answers.
does the
Mahavishnu is outside. This is about Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. When the Lord, who glanced over Prakriti, having created the universe, distinguished it from himself, situated himself outside of the Karmadakshaya Vishnu, and having entered the universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he desired a sleeping place for himself in the universe, and then created the Garbhodaka ocean. The Lord, being naturally pure, created the waters which was pure. This distinguishes it from the milk ocean. The water which is created by Garbhodaka Vishnu is not the milk ocean. It is Garbhodaka ocean. It is called Suchi Suchi, the pure water created from the pure body of the Garbhodaka Vishnu.
And where does the milk ocean?
Milk ocean through Loka. That is Kshirodaka Vishnu. Kshira Udaka means milk. Udaka means ocean. Milk ocean. Garbha Udaka. Garbhodaka Vishnu stays on the ocean which is created from himself. That's why it is called Garbha ocean. Garbha Udaka. Because it is created from the body of Garbhodaka Vishnu. That's why it is called as Garbhodaka ocean. So in that way.
So the Bhagavan Rata, he is lying on the waters of Garbha ocean.
अभी बताया नहीं ना, जस्ट वाटर क्रिएट किया, बाद में क्या किया? तासु अवास्तिस्व सृष्टासु सहस्रम परिवस्तरान तेन नारायणो नाम यदापा पुरुषोद्भवा.
He dwelled from many years in that water created from himself. Because of that, he is called Narayana. Since the waters, Nara arose from the Purusha.
Actually, this is for. He dwelled within that water for many years. Sahasram Parivastaran. He dwelled. 1,000 means many. When you say 1 means 1. When you say 2 means 2. When you say 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 100, 1,000 means many. Unlimited. He stayed there for many years in that water created from himself. Because of that, he is called Narayana. Tena Narayano Nama. Since the water, another name of water is Nara. Arose from the Purusha. Another name of Purusha is Nara. That which came from Nara is called Nara. And who is taking rest, Ayana, in the Nara is called Narayana. That is how the name Narayana comes. He derived the name Narayana by he is dwelling in the waters. Thus, he is dwelling in the waters become clear. By residing in that water, he got the name Narayana because the waters arose from the Purusha. Nara means the Purusha. Nara is that which arises from him. Pandu, Pandava, Kunti, Kaunteya, Dhritarashtra, Dhartarashtra, long A. He whose resting place in that water is called Narayana. That water which is the resting place of that Lord, and that Lord is called as Narayana. So it's like that. Apo Nara iti prokta apo vai Nara sunava. Ayanam tasya ta purvam tena Narayana smruta. The word apa and Nara are synonymous for water. Since the water are considered the sons of Nara, the primeval male of Mahavishnu. Nara means the offspring of Nara. Since these waters act as bed of Mahavishnu, and in the current case, Garbhodaka Vishnu, from the ancient past, we is called Narayana. What we? Or Vishnu is called Narayana. So actually it is he. He is called Narayana. That's why he is called Narayana. So here we and he somewhere near. That's why spelling mistake. Need to correct this one and this one. So because of that, he is called as Narayana. How did he receive the name Narayana? That is explained in this verse. So he created water. He went inside the water. He began to take rest for one lifetime of Brahma. One day nahi Baba, one lifetime of Brahma. Dravyam.
If they give any number of years before the creation of Brahma has been taken place, what is the time period between the Garbhodaka Vishnu came into this universe and the Brahma has taken place?
Not clearly mentioned, but in general, this verse again comes in the third canto. There we can take two meanings of this verse. So one meaning he stays inside the universe for one lifetime of Brahma. Second meaning is that he sleeps for the entire night of Brahma. One night of Brahma is how long?
1,000.
4,32,000 to 10.
Not number of years, Baba. In terms of some phrase, you tell 1,000 Chaturyugas.
1,000.
Sasra Parivastaran. One Parivasara, if you take it as Chaturyuga, 1,000 Chaturyugas, it takes rest. Garbhodaya Vishnu takes rest for 1,000 Chaturyugas, and then from his navel there comes the lotus flower, then Brahma appears and he performs all the activities, and then he himself expands as Vishnu, maintain the entire universe for one day of Brahma, that is again 1,000 Chaturyugas. Then everything again enters into his body. When the universe is annihilated, before again, when the protein matter systems are annihilated, again recreated next morning, the internet is simply sleeping. That is 1,000 Chaturyugas. So it can also understood like that. Sahasram Parivasram refers to 1,000 Chaturyugas. That time there is no activity, only sleeping. So like that we can think of.
When the whole planetary systems are created again, it is during the daytime of the Brahma.
Early in the morning of Brahma.
Then again, Narayana comes into active state.
He expands himself as Kshirodaksha Vishnu.
Even when the whole during the night time also he expands in the form of Kshirodaksha Vishnu.
But in the night time, Kshirodaksha Vishnu enters back into Garbhodaksha Vishnu's form. There will be no Kshirodaksha Vishnu in the night time.
Still the living entities are there.
Where are they?
Brahma himself is there.
Where is he?
In Satyaloka.
Nahin. During the night time, Brahma and all the living entities enter into the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Everyone takes rest within the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. How did Brahma appears next day? Morning. The first lotus comes. On top of the lotus, Brahma appears. From where he came? From the abdomen of Garbhodaksha Vishnu through the lotus, he comes to the top and appears.
ऐसा भी है ना मुझे जब वो सोते हैं
कहाँ पे सोते हैं बट कहाँ पे सोते हैं
उधर ही ऐसा सुन नहीं सकते
उधर नहीं रहता है कारण सत्यलोक also enters back into Garbhodaksha Vishnu. All the 14 planetary systems enter back into Garbhodaksha Vishnu.
लेकिन अपर प्लैनेटरी सिस्टम रहता है
कौन बोला अभी we are also closing now. 1 or 2 verses we are discussing. Sub 14 planetary systems, just like they manifest in the morning of the Brahma, in the evening they all enter back into the Garbhodaksha Vishnu. They all will be destroyed.
every day.
Everything that has been created by Brahma, that has been maintained by Vishnu, will be destroyed by Lord Shiva at the end of the day. अभी तक का बहुत बार सुना होगा ओनली स्वर्गलोक तक डिस्ट्रॉय होता है बाकी 4 ऐसे रहते हैं करके दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम यू हैव टू रीड इन बिटवीन लाइंस
हम भी डिस्कस कर रहे थे ना पहले
कौन
भी आई थिंक प्रीवियस क्लासेस
हां
ये तो पॉइंट आया था कि जो वो प्लैनेटरी सिस्टम मतलब लोग हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे तब देयर वाज सम पॉइंट दैट
the destruction here it is very gross there it is very subtle the planet systems are subtle what destruction can happen there those abodes are not made up of earth water fire the earth water fire does not have any influence there since our earth bhumandala is made up of earth element there will be rains there will be what you can say scorching heat so much will have some influence here and the 4 abodes are not at all made up of earth and water and fire and air so udhar बारिश का क्या फायदा और उधर सनलाइट का क्या फायदा उधर सनलाइट जरूरत ही नहीं सनलाइट कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग देयर
is predominantly made by subtle elements.
Yes, their bodies are subtle elements, predominantly subtle. So what earth element? Further destruction means something grossly happening. Yes, destruction means a tsunami comes, lot of rain comes, or there is a lot of akal for 4-5 years. That is destruction. But उधर वो सब आने का आवश्यकता नहीं कैसे destruction होगा? If this is the definition of destruction for you, this definition does not fit in that concept. Then how can you understand the destruction is there? So from that point of view, at some other places, Bhagavatam said that there is no destruction there. That means there is no gross destruction there. But certainly they will destroy and they will enter back into the body of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So it is like that.
So यही concept लेकर अगर ऐसा the concept which applicable here is not applicable in the upper planetary system. So if we say that the degradation or the we can say the stoppage of the spiritual advancement यहाँ पे होता है, the grossly which misdeeds we do, तो उससे उनका पतन होता है वैसे. So the upper planetary system, वहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ है क्या कि certainly
वहाँ पे ग्रास कुछ नहीं. They are
certainly
already evolved yogis. Generally, it won't happen, but even if it happens, they can rectify themselves. They are already evolved beings. They are already almost purified state. They are already purified people. So there पतन की कुछ नहीं होता. एक ही होता है तो conceptually कुछ होता है बस. We'll do this one verse last and we'll stop here. Only one slide. धर्मं द्रव्यं कर्म च कालश्च स्वभावो जीव एव च यद् अनुग्रहता सन्ति न सन्ति यद् उपेक्षया.
By connection with the Lord, matter, karma, time, swabhava, and the totality of the jivas can produce effects. Without his presence, they have no effect. This is repeated verse only.
Many things repeat again and again. By connection with the Lord only, dravya, karma, kala, swabhava, jiva can produce effects, can do something. Otherwise, without his presence, without Lord's connection, nothing can happen. The verse describes the influence of the Lord who dwells in the universal form. About the influence of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Dravya means material cause, starting with earth. Karma, kala, and swabhava are the efficient causes. Jiva refers to Hiranyagarbha, the enjoyer, the totality of the jivas. Because of being connected to the Lord, these things exist. Without Paramatma, the jiva or his body cannot exist. Or without Paramatma, these items cannot produce effects. Dravya, karma, kala, swabhava, and jiva can produce effects only by connection with the Lord, not otherwise. Without connection with the Supreme Personality of God, nothing can function in this material world. So that is the understanding. Now, the rest of the verses starting from 13th verse, there is a description of the universal form, which states that it is by the Lord's desire everything manifests. It is desire which manifests whatever we want to have. One of the scientists desired, let us have a handy mobile. So mobile was evolved, produced. Someone desired, let us have laptop. They designed laptop. Like that, Jiva desired, let me have the experience of enjoying the fragrance for which nostril is created. Let me have the enjoyment of seeing wonderful, beautiful objects. Eyes are created. Let me enjoy the hearing of nice music. The ears are created. Let me enjoy the nice food substances with a nice taste. The tongue is developed. That's how this entire chapter says. The desire manifests the universe and the individual bodies. Everything is happening to facilitate the desire of the individual jiva or collective jivas. That is one of the purpose of the universal form in this chapter. The 6th chapter, the purpose of the universal form is that the Lord is both the material cause and the efficient cause of everything that is there in the universe. And the description of the universe in the 1st chapter is that the universal form is described as the Dharanashraya for the yogi so that they can purify their contaminated heart, so that they can meditate in Paramatma and perfect their lives. And 3rd canto, 6th chapter, there is another universal form which talks about because the Devatas have prayed for some service. In order to facilitate some seva to the Devatas, the Lord manifested the universal form, which is nothing but the system with which the universe is maintained. The Devatas who are responsible for the maintenance of the universe, the system is facilitated by the universal form that is mentioned there. And finally, there is another universal form in the 26th chapter of the 3rd canto. The purpose is, though the universal form consists everything, but without the presence of Paramatma, nothing is of use, nothing is functional. The Paramatma, only by the presence of the Paramatma, the universal form is having some meaning. Otherwise, it has no meaning to it. That is indicated in the 26th chapter of the 3rd chapter, 3rd canto. Like that, there are total 5 universal forms, and every universal form talks about one different aspect of the universal form. So that is the overall understanding. And the description starts from 13th verse onwards. So we will discuss that tomorrow. There are many verses, 50 verses. We'll try to complete. If you don't complete, remaining all for your homework. Hare Krishna. Okay.